And welcome to part 2. Part 1 had us blocking out all the different shapes with no regard really to color or volume. Here in part 2 we'll begin to apply realistic colors, maybe some textures, and start roughing out the hardware. I'm trying a different format here where I've sped up the video and voice over my instructions, or sort of my processes. Really, it's just a lot of applying gradients and adjusting blending layers, which would be even more tedious than the previous video. So what I'm doing here is basically calling out the different colors that will be represented. Just a basic CMF sort of guideline for me to add to my swatch panel, which is what I'm doing now. And I'll be able to call back to those when I'm creating gradients or maybe creating different parts. I'm adding a gradient to this compound shape. I'll just very roughly get it in there, and then I'll add the brushed metal texture on top so that they're two independent. I've created a basic texture with a Photoshop effect that I can live trace and expand to vectorize it. I'll paste it here, and then I'll stretch it out. I'll duplicate it just to increase the density. Duplicate again to get the proper bounding box I need, and then I will get that vertically aligned and bring over this watch face as a clipping mask. So now I've got a gradient and a sort of brushed texture that I can use with different blending modes to sort of give me the appearance of brushed metal. I'll adjust the opacity there as well. Onto the watch bands. Pretty simple to just use the image below as a reference and adjust the gradient as needed. Copy and paste and adjust the gradient again. And we'll take care of those ridges later down the line. Moving on to the brackets, I'm just trying to match the color of the metal while keeping them sort of on a separate plane to show that the watch face is sticking out above those brackets. I'm going to do that with the color and also by adding a drop shadow later on. You can see that the actual dial is still blocked out in that green color. That'll be a next video. It's a lot of detail to go into a small area. Once I've got the top bracket done, I can group it, copy it, paste it, and move it into position below. And adjust the gradients, of course. Once you add color and texture to more parts in the render, you'll start to go back to parts that you've already created and adjust to make everything sort of match and communicate the form. Every now and then you may see me open up the appearances panel to adjust transparency or blending modes of objects. Here I'm creating the hex head screw. There's a lot of copying and pasting into place. Trying out the line tool, didn't work. I'm going to create a custom shape instead. That's better. I've got the dark half done. I'll just select all of those and copy and paste to create the lighter half. Rotate it into shape and adjust the blending mode. When you're working with concentric circles, it's always faster to just copy and paste into place. Contrasting gradients really give a sense of depth, especially on chamfers or fillets. And I can group all these elements together and paste them into the other positions. I'm using a stroke on that head that I changed the opacity of using the appearances panel. And that about wraps it up for a real quick video about applying materials, textures. The next one will be all about the sort of watch face, going into detail about some cool stroke effects. And that will make your life easier for knob ticks and things like that. But I hope you enjoyed this one.